In 1978, the NFL started playing 16 games in their regular season. From 1978 to 94, excluding the strike-shortened seasons of 82 and 87, there were 47 teams that started with a record of 3-7 after 10 games. On average, these teams finished with a 5-11 record, with some of them failing to win another game, and some of them being able to claw their way back to 500. But only one team in that stretch made it above 500. Only one team was able to escape from a 3-7 hole, win their final 6 games, and finish at 9-7. And in 1994, the New York Giants did just that. Somehow, after going more than 2 months without winning a football game, they were able to claw their way back, finish the season above 500, and come within a tiebreaker of the playoffs, only missing out to the Chicago Bears for the final wildcard spot on a common opponent's tiebreaker. And while the Giants had some easy opponents in this stretch, they faced their fair share of good teams. During the stretch, they had to take on the Dallas Cowboys, who were 12-4 and had won 2 straight Super Bowls. They had to take on the Cleveland Browns, who were 11-5 and made it all the way to the divisional round that year. And they had to take on an average Philadelphia Eagles team that went 7-9 with a point differential of 0. So how do they turn it around and pull off what could have been one of the greatest single-season turnarounds of all time? You can thank Dan Reeves changing up his coaching strategy for that. This is the story of how the 1994 Giants turned around their season with a piece of paper and a pencil. After winning their first 3 games of the season, things spiraled out of control for the Giants coming out of their bye week. They had gone from 3-0 to 3-6, and were now facing the Arizona Cardinals at home. On paper, this seems like an opportunity for the Giants to turn things around. They had won 10 straight games at the Meadowlands against the Cards, and hadn't lost to them at home since 1983, when they were still in St. Louis. But after the Giants led 9-0 at the half, they allowed 10 unanswered points in the second half to lose at 10-9. This was now 7 straight losses for New York. Dan Reeves needed to figure out a way to right the ship and get his offense going again. So after the loss, Reeves held practices as normal. But after the final practice of the week, in preparation for their Monday night game against the Houston Oilers, he gathered everyone on the offense, handed them a sheet of paper and a pencil, and asked them each, individually, to write down their favorite running plays and their favorite passing plays that they practiced that week. Reeves said he's always done this with his quarterbacks, so he knows what they feel comfortable with in third down situations. But he's never done it before with the entire offense. Then, after he gets all of the suggestions, Reeves organizes his play sheet for the upcoming game in accordance with what his players like. On paper, this seems fairly obvious. Call what your players like, and put them in positions where they feel comfortable succeeding. But as wide receiver Mike Sherrard said, it's a great idea. I'm surprised it's taken coaches this long to think of it. If he has a feel for what we feel most comfortable running, those are the plays that will probably be successful. By listening to his players, Dan Reeves managed to completely change around the offense and his team. During the 7-game losing streak, the Giants averaged a mere 13.1 points per game. After Reeves started doing this, they averaged 18 points per game. During the losing streak, the Giants averaged only 243 yards per game. After Reeves implemented his strategy, that jumped up to 297 yards per game. And during the losing streak, New York averaged over 2 turnovers per game. Once Reeves implemented his strategy, that average got cut in half, as the Giants turned the ball over just 6 times in their final 6 games. While these numbers aren't necessarily amazing, considering what they were, and considering that Dave Brown was their quarterback, they're definitely an improvement. Considering New York had one of the better defenses in football that season, on offense, these improvements were all that needed to be done for them to start winning and completely turn around their season. What's the moral of the story here? Sometimes, the best strategy for winning, as a head coach, is to just listen to your players. Special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a Patreon and request future video topics in the description below.